Welcome to the No Script Show, where we burn bridges, not cities.
Damn, bro! Like right to the right in there, huh?
Yeah, dude, it's the only thing that I know that's going on right now because I've had a bit of sabbatical. So,
I guess we can start with that side of things. Let me just say, by the way, the officer who was involved in the Ahmed al-Bari shooting, the two guys, they are in jail. The officer who murdered George Floyd, he is in jail. I would like to start off, and I would like to make the assertion that we are all in agreement that that shit was murder. We all want those officers to be detained like indefinitely, or hung or whatever, or I'm not saying this is not murder. Also, property rights still exist. Like that's just a thing.
you know what? I mean, you're right. These things, no one's saying that what happened was right. Of course, it's fucking terrible. Any murder is freaking terrible. I think it's just when it gets to the point where people are assuming that cops are just getting away with it, like that's kind of wrong. Like, I would understand the outcry if cops were murdering people and not going to jail for it, but that's not the case. But what is the case is there are cops that are killing people and murdering them because that was straight up murder.
That was fucking murder. Except for like three pieces of shit on planet Earth who probably have like Groyper XY, Groyper Gen Z, whatever, white power, whatever. Except for like three people on Twitter who have those profiles. The rest of us all agree, left or right, that was fucking murder. And let me maybe assert that maybe the United States as a whole is not actually as racist as you think it was, because if it were, then people wouldn't be burning shit right now and destroying shit right now. Okay. By the way, in the process, there was a guy called David Dorn, 70-year-old retired police chief, who happens to be black, who was murdered by looters. And the video is pretty graphic. You see him and I believe a family member in his last couple of seconds of life. He tried to stop looters. He's black. Nobody's caring about him. Or also there was some black police chief mother lady who, I think it was in Minneapolis, I don't know. She was also killed. A bunch of police officers have been killed, shot, injured. And if you're not a big People fan, one of the things that also hit home for me was the picture of the police horse that took a brick to the face and it broke the horse's nose and it's bleeding and the officers are trying to attend to it. So from where I'm standing, I would assert that maybe the United States isn't that much of a racist society. Otherwise, people will be like, "Oh, good on that cop," But also, maybe most people are good and happy and nice people. Also, there are some racists, and also there are some jackasses who suck at their jobs. And sometimes those racists happen to be cops. Sometimes those jackasses also happen to be cops. And when a cop is a jackass, then the consequences of him sucking at his job is people getting killed.
100%. And yeah, the thing that just irks me is like, you have this movement called Black Lives Matter, but it's only selective Black Lives that matter.
Exactly. That's why they can destroy they can destroy neighborhoods because like when your worldview is based on all these power structures and privileges and all that, then you can justify violating some of these property rights, even if they happen to be an immigrant or minority small store in the Bronx or some shit, or in your neighborhood. But because they have a store, they have power and privilege, and therefore it's okay to put a rock. I mean, one of the things that made me feel the saddest was a picture of one storefront that said, single mother owned. Please show mercy. This is all I have. And by the way, the corporations virtue signaling for this, not going to help because Nike virtue signaled like crazy, and they still got looted like crazy. I mean, one of the funniest things to me was the one news clip of, I think it was in California, Southern California. The one looter is like, he didn't even know who George. He barely knew who George Floyd was. He's like, nah, man, I'm just here trying to get that cash. How like, there we go. So I understand there are some genuinely good looters. I mean, no, not good looters. Good, genuinely good protesters. But if you are a genuinely good protester, you need to make it absolutely clear that you do not stand with these looters. You need to stop saying shit like, I understand that I get that it's wrong, but I understand the anger. You need to stop saying that shit, and you need to unequivocally fucking reject these looters and rioters.
Yeah, and also I think at the end of the day, what we also got to realize is, in the same sense of Floyd being murdered, and that probably being a thing that doesn't happen so as often as the media portrays it to be, or isn't such a systematic problem as the media portrays it to be. In the same breath, I think there are majority of protesters are just protesting like protesters should protest. But we also see only the worst of them, to be honest. So
fair point, yeah.
So yeah, on both sides of the scale. But yeah, at the end of the day, even virtue signalers like Nike they can still take the hit of one of their stores, or 5 of their stores, or 10 of their stores getting looted. A lot of these small businesses in the cities, I mean, that's all they have.
There was that video of that one dude who was trying to defend his shop with a sword, and the protesters just swarmed him. Well, let's call them looters. They swarmed him, and they fucking curb stomped this guy till he's bleeding out the head and he's just laying prone. I'm like, fuck me sideways, dude.
How is that different to what happened to Floyd?
I mean, yeah. And then there's that video of those people in the apartment who are like showing a thumbs up to some protesters walking down the street. And then the protesters throw a brick through their window and they're like, whoa, what the fuck, man? We're on your side. We're on your side. Well, they don't care if you are on their side. Again, I remind you, when your worldview is based around all these power structures and privileges, it doesn't matter how hard you virtue signal. Eventually, you're going to get eaten by the crocodile. Like, it's just...
My best thing is things that are so fucking pointless that make no sense. Like all these white chicks shaving their heads right now.
Oh, that was actually a psyop, apparently, it seems. Well, at this point, from 4chan.
Oh, so it's not real.
Oh no, some white chicks are actually doing it, but it was somebody uncovered a thread where they're like, let's take this chick shaving her head and say, go bald for BLM. And it caught fire, and now a bunch of white chicks
always trust 4chan to start a revolution.
The irony is, these white chicks are now fucking shaving their heads bald because of a psyop started by 4chan. And if you've ever been on... Okay, there are some good boards on 4chan, but this was a 4chan B. I think it was B or poll. Poll being politically incorrect and B being the infamous 4chan random board. And if you've ever been to either of those boards, you know that these virtue signaling white chicks would hate everybody on those boards and everything they stand for. So it just adds that layer of delicious irony for me that you are now just...
Dude, like I can laugh at some of the shit that people are doing. Like, did you see that picture with all those white people sitting in the street with their hands raised up? Like,
it was hilarious.
That is gonna stop police brutality.
Yeah, that's like, you did it, guys. Police brutality.
Well done. Now it's over. We can move on with our freaking lives.
Police brutality's done. We did it, guys.
My thing is, like, even if let's say it is a problem, right? Let's say police brutality is a problem, and
Sure, and I
Racial
mean,
profiling is a problem. Let's say it is a problem, and black people are being killed by police on purpose. The thing is, sitting on the street raising your hands is going to do nothing about it because none of these people are coming up with a solution on how we fix this problem. Like, maybe police need better training.
uh,
Maybe, you know, uh,
exactly.
maybe, you know, I've seen videos where police have shot someone because they literally got scared, and you can hear them in their uh, on their body cam, like they got freaked out for some reason, and you can just hear how their breathing became really heavy, and they like freaked out and they shot someone, and they didn't mean to do it. And I'm not saying that that's the right thing. I mean, I'm just saying maybe police need better training on how to handle difficult situations. The difference between police and normal citizens is, as a normal citizen, even as someone that carries a firearm, I'm under no obligation to go into a fight.
Exact, and that's
Um,
the thing, right? There was this tweet.
Police have an obligation to go. They have an
Exactly.
obligation to
Well, they
stop a
don't
threat.
apparently, because sometimes police just don't go into active shooter zones. Oh, by the way, there were three police stations that I know of right now across the US where active shooters opened fire. They like walked into the police station and just started shooting.
That is crazy. And but what I'm saying is like police generally are the ones that we entrust to put themselves in danger to protect us, right? Um, and I think that can be a really stressful freaking job. You
Yeah,
never know what you're walking into. You get a call to
dude.
go
I
to
mean,
a house. Yeah.
as somebody who also carries a firearm all the fucking time. Um, you know, I've been in situations where it's like late at night, it's fucking dodgy, and there's a dude who I'm like, okay, I mean, with situational awareness, I'm like, I'm walking to my car or in a parking lot or some shit. I'm like, fuck, I now need to make a judgment call, like, about this dude. Like, is shit gonna go down here with this dude? And there have been situations where a dude presented a genuine threat to me, and the mere sort of flashing of the hilt of my sidearm was enough to sort of like back them off. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, like I say, usually us citizens get ambushed by criminals
Mm.
where police know there's a criminal with a firearm, for instance, and they have to go to stop that threat. Where even us as firearm holders, we are under no obligation to stop that threat. We can walk away from it if it's not our fight. Um,
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because somebody on Twitter was like, because remember during the some of the lockdown protests, there were some people who marched to various government offices armed, and there were some people who sat around small businesses armed, openly displaying their firearms, and and they're like, it's funny that all these white supremacists with with their guns don't get shot, but innocent unarmed black men do. I'm like, okay, maybe some innocent unarmed black men do get shot, sure, but also, and then somebody quote tweeted that, and he's like, first of all, this guy, I don't know what he looks sort of Filipino, but he's like, actually, there were some minorities that were armed there. I was one of them. And also, it's almost as if when the citizenry is armed, the police are less likely to act like jackasses to you. Like, yes,
exactly. What is the point of the Second Amendment? It's exactly that.
you want to help, but don't don't shave your head, don't apologize, don't literally kiss black people's shoes in the street. Carry firearms and help your local black people carry firearms. Because as it turns out, when the citizenry is armed, the police are less likely to act like jackasses.
And you're less likely to get criminals because if a criminal knows that 99.9% of people are armed, there's no way I'm going to go rob a store, for instance,
Yeah, like
because
all those photos of the rooftop Koreans with their rifles.
yeah, like there's nothing you can do. You can try be a criminal, just going to end up badly for you because everyone's armed and you're going to be screwed. So, um,
It's amazing. There was actually Jo Jorgensen. She's one of the Libertarian candidates for president, who will inevitably be screwed over. But she's a Clemson professor and psychologist, I mean, I'm pretty libertarian, and I know you are too. And people always say libertarians have no realistic solutions. And I just love this one tweet by her that was, she said, "We all want quick, peaceful solutions to this crisis. End qualified immunity. Qualified immunity is a law whereby if you are a police officer acting outside of your jurisdiction or whatever, or acting in certain circumstances, then the Supreme Court grants you immunity for your actions." And that's why a lot of these instances where police shoot people or their pets or whatever, or just generally act like jackasses, get off, is because of qualified immunity.
Yeah,
So
but weren't a lot of these laws written by our fellow Democrats?
yep,
Democrats.
and
So
guess where George Floyd lives, in a very blue state with a very blue governor. But that's not her only solution. End qualified immunity require law enforcement to carry liability insurance to price bad officers out of a job. Market-based solution, nice. End victimless crime laws, and all of these are practical, effective ways to start real change. Well done, Joe Jorgensen. I would vote for you or John McAfee any day.
yeah, dude, they and that's what I'm saying. Like, you can have all these protesters and Black Lives Matter, but no one's coming up with solutions to the problem. It's easier to burn things down and say I'm angry than saying, listen, I'm angry and this is how we can fix it. Do you agree?
What
You know?
what really disturbs me about this, I understand their anger angle, is it's indicative of a certain worldview where it says it's a sort of moral relativism where property rights aren't always sacrosanct. So
Yeah.
it sort of implies, like, if I'm angry enough or frustrated enough, then X is okay. It's like, and the implication of this, to a slightly dark angle, is that, okay, if that's your worldview, then at what point, if I'm angry, frustrated, and horny enough, is something like rape okay? Because that's your worldview. Like, anything
Exactly.
is excusable
100%.
to where if I'm angry, frustrated, horny, hungry enough, whatever enough, then X is okay. There is no ceiling or floor to what is okay and not okay, and that really disturbs me.
100%, man. And not just that. It's just that business owner whose business you've just ruined had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah,
So you're not ruining the life of the person that did the act. You're ruining the
yeah,
lives of people that are completely innocent. Um, Probably some people that didn't even know what the hell was going on. They're like, the fuck, there's protests. I don't even know what's happening. Oh, my business is gone. For what?
exactly.
Um, and the sad thing is, in these communities, a lot of these communities are communities that need business. They need economic activity happening there. And you're just destroying it and making your own situation worse for someone that didn't even deserve it. It just makes no sense, dude. But I can never understand that kind of thinking anyway. Um, I think you'll need to get old who's our favorite psychologist?
Quinton.
Quentin, yeah. We need to get old Quentin to answer some of those questions.
Yeah, I
But
too, like, I don't.
that's a mentality in our country as well. Like
Oh, fuck yeah.
if we complaining about hospitals, we burn down schools. Then we get a hospital, we don't have schools, so we burn down the hospital because we don't have schools. Like, no, that's it's just not how it works. Yeah, and it's difficult to take people seriously that are willing to destroy things.
Dude, they defaced the Lincoln Memorial and the World War II Veterans Memorial. I would like to.
Fuck.
I happen to remember Abraham Lincoln. You know who that dude was, right? He literally freed the slaves and took a bullet in the head partially because of that. So, and the World War II Veterans Memorial. Well, I know that a lot of the social justice left hates Nazis. Well, pro tip: the people who fought in World War II were fighting literal fucking Nazis. They were dropping out of planes in the sky. They were getting off landing craft on beaches, and getting turned into fucking mincemeat by machine guns to stop actual Nazis.
Yeah, but if you look at a lot of these top protesters and the way they think like the Nazi government did anyway. You know, these people aren't allowed to do business. These people aren't allowed to be in our city. These people aren't allowed to talk about these things. No one should be hearing this or hearing that. That is
Yeah, and
Nazi thinking.
exactly. That's like, people are like, how can you be against Antifa? They're just anti-fascist. Look, If I call a punch in the dick a penis flattening, it still doesn't make it any less painful. It doesn't matter what you fucking call it. A rose by any name would still smell as sweet, or in this case, a rose by any other name would still smell as shitty. It's just,
Yeah, dude. There's a brilliant quote. I don't know if you've ever watched Lord of War.
oh yeah, I have.
Um,
Fucking great Nicolas Cage movie.
great movie. Uh, there's a great quote in that movie. I want to find it right now, but it's really freaking
See,
good.
this is why we need more money for the show. Which is why, as you Google that shit, I would like to mention our sponsor for the week, or rather our main sponsor for the week, which are the good folks at GOSA, aka Gun Owners of South Africa. Do you like being able to own firearms? Do you like protecting yourself, your life, your liberty, your property, your loved ones? Well, then you should like the good folks at GOSA. They are fighting for your right to be able to own firearms. Ladies, do you know what stops a creepy, lecherous, Joe Biden-looking type nigger? A 9mm injection to the head. So, I would advise you to seriously check out and support the good folks at GOSA who are fighting for your firearms rights every day. GOSA, check them out.
100%. It's not even expensive to be a member, man.
Dude,
Really,
it's
do
piss.
it.
I bought a membership for myself and my brother, and I renew it every year. And I donated for their court case. Like, dude, it's piss amount of money.
Yeah, and they do good work. They really do good work, man. But
Yeah.
anyway, here's that quote, and it's a brilliant quote. I always refer to it because it just makes so much sense. And I think George Orwell said something similar. Not in the same words, but pretty similar. It says, "Every faction in Africa call themselves by these noble names: liberal this, patriotic that, democratic republic of something or the other. I guess they can't own up to what they usually are: federation of the worst oppressors than the last bunch of
Oof.
oppressors. Often the most barbaric atrocities occur when both combatants proclaim themselves freedom fighters."
Oof.
And
Oof.
it's so true, and it's the same thing with Antifa. Um, what they call themselves, they are actually completely the opposite of it.
It's true, though.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, the brilliant quotes. And if you haven't watched Lord of War, people, just freaking watch it. It's a brilliant movie. Seriously good.
It is a brilliant movie. Oh, I see now. Speaking of oppressors and shit, I see now Cyril or President Fuckface, our own South African president, has come out and says we have deep regret about the case of Collins Koza, because you know that the ANC was flouting the whole George Floyd case, and they're like
Yeah,
blah blah blah,
how
and everyone in South
hypocritical.
Africa to sort of push away from Collins Koza and I believe that, I mean, Collins was the most prominent one, but one of the victims, I read the list of them. One of them was a 7-year-old girl who was
Wow.
killed by police. Sorry, and this is why I keep saying, guys, when you are rooting for the SANDF to be deployed, these are not the consummate professionals you think they are. They are thugs with guns and government immunity.
Not just
And
that, they are taught to kill. That's
exactly,
it's essentially
exactly.
their line of work.
So when in America they deploy the National Guard, the key word there is the National Guard. They are equipped and trained in such a way that even though they are part of the military, they can be deployed domestically. We don't have a distinction between National Guard, Marines, Air Force, whatever. Like, we don't have specialized sects of our military. We just have the SANDF, and they are fucking thugs. And For those of you overseas who don't know, or not South Africans, Collins Causa was our own George Floyd case, which our government focused very much away from, and focused on George Floyd to focus the limelight away from. I don't know how many people were actually killed by SAPS and SANDF. It's a good chunk. Like there's quite a few people in each province, and easily was it like 20 people or something like that in this lockdown, and yeah.
Well, at some point during the lockdown, we had more people killed by police and the military than people that had died from coronavirus
Yeah,
in our
and
country. So how does that how did that stop lives from
being lost.
being lost? Yeah. So yeah, it makes no sense, dude.
But I mean, President Fuckface finally came out and said, "Oh, we have deep regret about the Collins Causa case." Even though I believe the SANDF and SAPS people involved were cleared by the court, President Fuckface, honestly, him coming out about this 2 months later is the equivalent of like your folks dying in a tragic car accident, and then your best mate says like 10 years later, "Oh, dude, sorry about your parents."
Yeah.
Motherfucker, I've been an orphan for like 10 years.
Yeah,
It's a bit late
exactly.
for the condolences. Sorry you missed the funeral, but it's a bit late for the condolences.
No, it reminds me like of Bill Clinton. Like once he had to admit that he had sexual relations. Like he didn't have to admit it until like right at the end where there was no more. There was no choice but to admit it anymore. And that's essentially what's happening with Cyril as well. Like if these protests weren't happening, we wouldn't have heard anything about from Cyril about our own frickin' police because the best thing a communist government can do is not let people know what their regime is doing. So,
Exactly.
and that's only the ones that we know about. There's plenty that don't get airtime. So,
Yeah, I'm like that's my main thing. I'm like, okay, so we know of these ones.
it just really frustrates me how South Africans are on this BLF thing, and
By the way,
but they weren't so upset about what's happening in our own freaking country. Like I say, it's such selective Black Lives Matter, hashtag Black Lives Matter. It should be Black Life Matters, single Black Life Matters, because that's what it is. One black person dies, and there's this uproar, but when 20, 30, 40 die, no one's saying anything. So, what, and people are getting upset about something that's not even happening by a government that we can control. It's not our government. It's in a completely different country. We have no control over it, but you won't complain when our own government does this. It's so stupid, man.
it's just it's just I don't. And the thing is, and the thing that really grates me about Black Lives Matter. Well, there's two things. One was the video of the chicks trying to clean up the graffiti on the federal building, and this black chick's like, "This is not a good use of your white privilege, ladies." And they're just cleaning up the graffiti off the federal building that was spray painted Black Lives Matter there. And she asked him like, "Oh, so you don't care about Black lives?" And like, "No, it's not that. We just want to clean up, the graffiti on our federal buildings." And I'm no statist by any measure of the word, but I like these chicks are just trying to clean up this building. They've clearly stated that they're down with your shit, but they just want to clean up this building from the graffiti. And the other thing is, I will take Black Lives Matter seriously the day that they start, like you said, protesting for black cops. I will take Black Lives Matter seriously the day that they start protesting for the gun violence in Chicago. Chicago, by the way, an extremely blue city. I think maybe 2 people voted for Donald Trump or Republicans ever in the history of Chicago. And ever. By the way, Barack Obama's hometown. It's still an absolute mad lad like place. Like, it's just madness there in the south side of Chicago. Massive amounts of gun violence. ironically, despite all the gun laws that they have, that it's practically impossible to own a firearm.
Yeah, it has the most gun violence.
Yes. It was funny. It was like it was almost funny. There was some report that coronavirus actually lowered the fatalities in Chicago because people had to be quarantined at home. That's how bad their gun violence was. So when Black Lives Matter march and protest for that, when Black Lives Matter march and protest that black babies in Chicago have to often sleep in bathtubs instead of cribs because of the fucking ricochets of drive-by shootings, then I will take you seriously. Until then, no. Just no.
But Odin, you are a black man, so how can you not support this? Honestly. You are black. You need to support this. Come on.
Apparently. It's like you're not gay if you don't X. You're not black if you don't X.
Yeah. Oh, you drank water, so you don't like black lives. Sorry, I was just having a glass of water, bro.
Yeah.
Just give me a chance.
Bruh, I'm just having a swig of water here. I couldn't tell.
But probably on that same point is I know you want to get into a little bit of what Unati said on Twitter about apartheid. So I think it's time that we get a Odin rage here.
Okay, so Unati, ex-ZACP member, by the way.
Still ZACP member.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, spectacular implosion of ZACP though. Like, no offense to people like Duma and Louis, who are awesome members of it, but a lot of your top members really fucking shit the bed recently. And by recently I mean for the last like year since, they've just been shitting the bed in general. So yeah, where do you want to start?
Well, first let's start on what she said. So Unati, I didn't have the tweet with me because I only heard about it later, and she tweets literally about 70 tweets a minute, so to find it is a little bit difficult. But essentially, she said, black people were safer. What did she say? Black people were safer under apartheid than they are right now, or something to that effect. And maybe safer as well as economically better off. I think she said that as well.
I'm going to call bullshit on that. Yes, you were safer if you did exactly as you were told, because the minute you stepped out of line, men with guns from the dystopian police state that is apartheid would come and disappear you from your fucking home and torture you to death, and maybe your remains would be found. Maybe. And also, economically better off. I'm going to call bullshit on that. I bought a Mercedes A-Class before I was 30 years old. I paid off my car and my house before I was 30 fucking years old. I'm a computer scientist. I would not be allowed to have certain occupations under apartheid. I would not be allowed to go. Like I said, the first time my mother and grandmother stepped foot on the grounds of Tux were for my graduation. Not because they had criminal records, not because they weren't smart enough to get in, but because they were black. Okay, I like that my black and white family members, actual blood family members, got to get married and have the most wonderful, awesome kids together and awesome lives. I like that I get to drink in the same establishments and party in the same establishments as some of my best friends. I like that I can live in any part of the city where I want, or in any city that I want. I like that, I can choose any occupation or anything that I want. I like that I can call the president fuckface. I like that I can consume any fucking media that I want. Well, and I get that all of these things people are saying, well, not really, not really, not really. Yes, there are certain caveats to that, but for the most part, all of these things are true. So my whole point with this rant is that I am so sick and fucking tired of people taking, and I know I sound angry, but that's because I am. I'm so sick and tired of people taking some select aspect of apartheid and then trying to sort of wink and nod and extrapolate that as if that's the that was the entirety of apartheid. It was a dystopian fucking police state, guys. By the way, shout out to Barton, who pointed out that even though you were safer in the homelands or whatever, that's partially because the government didn't give a fuck about the crime in the homelands unless it spilled out of the homelands, and B, partially because of the strong community spirit of the homelands, not because of fucking apartheid itself, not because white people and black people weren't allowed to get married. It was because there was a strong community spirit back then. You can totally have that community spirit without having a dystopian race-based fucking police state. So I'm sorry, but if you want to expand the apartheid from some tiny aspect, then fuck you and the fucking horse you rode into town on. Honestly, I am done. You cannot see the forest through the fucking trees.
You know what's funny for me? Like, the thing is, like, most of us are libertarians, and I know that Unati considers herself one as well.
She isn't. She's
she
just like she's honestly slowly becoming a local discount Candace Owens, and that's not a good thing.
But yeah, and what I want to say on that was that we've always known that freedom is more important than security, right? It's more important to know that you can say what you want than frickin' being safe from someone calling you a bad word. All these type of things, and the same thing. So is Unati saying that she would give up freedom to have security? And if that is the case, then I don't think you are much of a libertarian at all, because freedom is so much more important than security.
Absolutely. And again, I am not saying there was nothing ever good in apartheid. I am saying I always view the forest as a whole and not just a couple of trees. And also, my other issue with this is when you do this sort of romanticization of the past and all that shit, it kind of opens the door a little bit, or puts a foot in the door a little bit for genuine racists and genuine pieces of shit who are like, well, look, a black woman saying that, or a colored woman saying that, or an Asian woman saying that, then they liked it. It was okay. It was totally okay what they did. No, it wasn't okay. It wasn't fucking okay. Also, yes, the bullshit that happened to the Afrikaans people during the Anglo-Boer War in the concentration camp, that was also not okay. That was fucking horrific, and it's horrific that the British Empire has never seen consequences for that.
Yeah, it would be like someone saying to us, like, in the concentration camps, the English concentration camps back there, the food was a lot better in those camps than we get at restaurants now. What? That would be like kind of the same thing. Like, yeah, but we were dying there, like I said as well, we obviously spoke about this as well, and I said maybe her point wasn't to say that apartheid was better. Maybe her point was to say that the ANC has become so, or our government has become, and communities have become so bad that even back then it was like, even apartheid was better in that respect. And I don't know what her tone was, but after speaking to you and Martin, if you guys, everyone says no, that's not what she meant. I just assumed that maybe that's maybe something she meant. No idea. But then she needs to say what she frickin' meant. I don't know. Maybe we should get her on the show sometime.
Yeah,
you can have a real grilling with her.
Well, I don't think she will. She apparently hates me now. I was sent a tweet by.
Well, she said she wants to move to Botswana, right? And is that the tweet you're talking about?
Well, no. That's not the tweet. The tweet. By the way, I don't actually follow her. I was sent a tweet by somebody who follows both myself and her. And I tweeted that I like that I got to go to Tux and all that shit. I didn't even tweet at her. And then she quoted my tweet and said, "Free to speak about your experiences and others not. Fuck off." Well, first of all, strong and harsh words often indicate a weak cause. Second of all, this tweet that she quoted got 2 retweets and 9 likes. The tweet of mine that she quoted got 4 retweets and 41 likes. I have barely 1,500 followers. She has 43,000 followers. Imagine your tweet getting fucking bodied by my tiny account. That is the definition of getting blue ticked on fucking on Twitter. Like, that is embarrassing. But yeah, the tweet that I sent for about her shit. Actually, I can find it because she was saying, I'm moving to Botswana, a well-run country. I said, as a proud Botswana with family and friends in SA and bots, let me give you your first tip. Stop romanticizing a single aspect of apartheid without considering the whole for what it was. A dystopian police state where your race determined much. The state controlled what you could consume. Dissenters were abducted and tortured, murdered, including members of my own family. The first time my mother and grandmother set foot on the same Tux grounds I attended was for my graduation. Their crime, being born black. Botswana loves all its citizens, regardless of skin color. To summarize, fuck off. Botswana doesn't need or want people like you or the pit of neoliberal scum you shill for, known as the IRR, because, let's be honest, I've never hidden my hate for the IRRs. I had to get that shot in. So.
Yeah, but it seems like the IRR is upset with her as well about those tweets.
Which obviously is delicious. It's delicious. It's delicious.
Because wasn't it recently that she was employed by them? Like not even a few months ago, I think something like that. She got employed by them. I don't even think it's been 3 months.
Also, speaking of the IRR, shout out to Team E Squared, Aaron Sturz and Aaron's Conscious Caracal on their communitarianism versus individualism debate with the pathetic Pretorius from the IRR and Martin from the Free Market Foundation. Yeah.
I like Martin. Martin's pretty cool.
Yeah. I just like all the comments on the YouTube video there, just pointing out like what a snobby, holier than thou Ponce, pathetic Pretorius is. That was just that was chef's kiss, amazing.
Yeah, but as our good friend said on Discord the other day, I mean, judge the guy on his points of view, not on the way he pronounces words and the vocabulary he uses, of course. But yes, he does speak like that. Like
I went to an equally fancy school, and I will never talk down to you like that. Like I'll never, and also his points are just shitty.
Yeah. I haven't watched the debates. I only saw the one clip from who's that meme master?
Shout out to Malcolm Media. That was a sharp meme. Almost as sharp as our other sponsor of the day, which is Lion Razor Blades. Now, you may be looking at myself and Ru, and you think, why are these guys just knee deep in DMs and Snapchats that they will not share with us? Why are these guys just living this amazing life? What is the difference between them and I? The answer, my friend, is a local razor blade company, Lion Razor Blades, okay? Quality South African made, not Chinese made, fucking razor blades that are just so amazing. You want to cut your way out of the friend zone and into her panty zone? You need Lion Razor Blades. Seriously, they're amazing. I use them all the time. Whether you're just trimming your beard or making sure you're clean cut. Ladies and gentlemen, go out and get yourselves Lion Razor Blades.
Yeah, I don't use them on my face.
Well, that's fine, because, I mean, honestly, nothing's worse than taking a lady out for a romantic dinner, and then she decides she wants dinner in your pants, and she ends up getting her face flossing. Like, she ends up flossing her teeth with her dinner, if you know what I'm saying. Dessert.
Sorry, guys, too much information there. Yeah, dude. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I've kind of been on sabbatical, so I don't really know what the hell's going on anyway. But I do want us maybe to speak a little bit about how glorious it is to have some alcohol again.
Oh God, yes. Can we talk for? And we spoke about this earlier. Like, I have a lot of friends who, at the start of this, were like, you know, I mean, some of them were talking about, we've got to report these because drug dealers were selling also they were selling like cigarettes and alcohol. Ironic that we now live in a world where drug dealers are now selling alcohol and cigarettes. Just so ironic. They're like, no, we've got to report them. Breaking lockdown rules is genocide and all that shit. 3 weeks in, when they run out of all booze, suddenly they're like, yeah, no, maybe this lockdown isn't so lacquer, hey? By the way, for those of you listening internationally, our lockdown in South Africa banned the sale and transport of alcohol and also banned the sale of cigarettes.
Which tobacco products or nicotine
tobacco
products.
So which is ironic,
considering vape.
Yep, considering our cooperative governance minister, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, who is the main, shall we say, proponent of that, happens to be in a lot of really opportune and cozy photo ops with a notorious alleged cigarette smuggler. You know, it's just it's a weird coincidence. It's honestly, ladies, it's like when you catch your man fucking another girl and it's like, I tripped and she fell on my dick. Like, it's just it's unbelievable, the coincidentiality of it.
Yeah, man, and the way the government's just fighting this cigarette ban, dude. Like, just give us our cigarettes back, man. Of course, we know that there's hidden agendas here because cigarettes that used to cost like $20 a box are suddenly now 75 to 100 Rand a box. The black market is making billions right now, dude. Like billions. Much more money than the open market would be making right now, just because the markup on cigarettes is retarded. Not just that, like I've moved over to vape because the only cigarettes that we can get now are like really cheap cigarettes that.
And as a non-smoker, I'm also still pissed about this. Still pissed. It's a violation of our civil law. It's amazing that 3 weeks in or 4 weeks in or whatever, so many of the same people who are so adamantly pro-lockdown, where it's just like, oh, maybe this isn't so lacquer. I'm like, yeah, amazing. Now that your stockpile of booze and cigarettes runs out, now you care about your civil liberties. And absolutely amazing.
That's not even the biggest issue here. The biggest issue here is so many. I cannot count how many people have told me they've taken 30, 50% salary cuts, lost jobs, been retrenched.
Didn't we have this discussion before as well? We were trying to, I know you and I were in favor of non-insanity handling. Like we were never COVID deniers. We never said that the disease doesn't exist. We never said that there aren't externalities. We never said that we want like grandma to die for the Dow or the JSC.
Yeah.
But like we just said that, guys. And I know I'm repeating the points that you and I have discussed.
Thinking. You just need rational thinking, man.
Exactly. It's like, guys, do you know how like violent crimes like murder, rape, and armed theft and all that are going to skyrocket because of this? Do you know how deaths from things like addiction to substances is going to skyrocket because of economic depression? By the way, I actually know somebody, a family friend, who also, by the way, from not getting treated, things like cancer and all that, a family friend who died recently.
Wow.
Due to not being able to get and like we've known these people for like 20 fucking years, dude. And his wife died because she couldn't get the medical treatment she needed for her blood pressure or blood clots or whatever. Because again, while hospitals are COVID fucking dedicated, a lot of people with other issues aren't getting treated, and she died. So, you know.
Yeah, dude. It's the ramifications of it is huge, and I think we said this before that more people are going to die from poverty than COVID itself, because the future effects of this are just massive, and it's so sad. there's a community, for instance, that I belong to in the sim racing world, a bunch of South Africans, like over 300 South Africans. And the amount of people that have been saying, listen, we can't continue in these leagues anymore, we don't have jobs anymore, or, and you're not talking just young people, you're talking some people in their 40s, their 50s, like suddenly have no income. It's nuts, and it's sad at the same time. And um, the problem as well is there's going to be much less buying power. So even when we come out of lockdown, no one can expect the economy to just start up again because no one's going to have money to buy anything. Um, so if you think the economy is just going to reboot, sorry for you, that's just not happening.
No, it's not. It's not going to reboot.
Yeah, so look, I'm
There's
fortunate enough that I'm still making money, but
Yeah,
there
same.
are
And also, I have a very
plenty that are
valuable
not.
skill set. I'm not fucked, but I'm still pissed for people who are fucked.
Yeah, dude, that's it's very sad, man. I mean, even in our Discord community, we know some people that are struggling right now.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it's and the thing is, you can never um, blame. Well, we're not allowed to blame the government for it because as soon
No,
as we
no, no.
as soon as we blame the government for it, we want people to die, apparently. No, actually, we want to save more people than
We're
that are
trying
actually
to
going to die
save
from the
your fucking
virus.
lives. Yeah.
You know, um, also, if you had to give a choice to someone whether they get COVID-19 or if they can eat tonight, I think they're going to choose to eat if they haven't
Yeah.
eaten in 5 days. Um, there's someone on Twitter that I'm giving money to a little bit every month who also uh, lost their job. And literally every time he goes and he buys groceries, he sends me a photo of the groceries he bought with his receipt, and he spends every last cent on groceries. People are starving.
To
They
death.
cannot eat. People cannot
Eh.
eat.
And as somebody that's gone without eating for a day or two before in my life, trust me, starvation is not a good sensation.
100%. Uh, I'm fortunate enough to say I've only ever once gone a day without eating, and that was by choice, not because I was forced. Um, and dude, like I I cannot think of how terrible it would be not to eat, dude. Honestly.
I've
Um, and
done by
and
choice and by not choice. Either way,
yeah,
it wasn't great.
and like I said, at the end of the day, if you had to give the average person on the street the option to eat or get the virus, um, well, eat and get the virus or not eat and not get the virus, they'd probably rather get the virus so that they can eat.
Yeah,
Uh,
and ultimately we're heading for herd immunity. That's kind of how we get rid of viruses, guys. I don't know if you understand how vaccination works, but the whole point of vaccines is herd immunity. It's just that the thing is, vaccines just artificially accelerate the rate at which you gain herd immunity. So yeah, I mean, this whole thing with masks, and that's another thing where people on the right's like, I'll never wear a mask because I'm based as fuck. I'm not a coward. I'm like, no, you fucking idiot. Wear a mask when it is necessary. If again, I said this on the last episode. If it's a bunch of 20 to 20 year olds, 30 year olds, 35 year olds, whatever, in the fucking park where there's like they're socially distanced, or even if they're not socially distanced, even if they're having a party, like if it's a bunch of young, healthy, fucking 35 and under group of people, fucking athletes, D1 college athletes, let them do it. They will be fine. However, do not then proceed from that party and go home to grandma and give it to her. Socially distance from her and like wear a mask, or wear a mask when you're in. I mean, it's funny. There was this meme going around. It's like, if a business can deny gay people getting married, then it can also require you to wear a mask. And that cuts both ways, the left and right. It's like,
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
they're capable of doing both of those things, regardless of my personal opinion on either. Yes, a private business is capable of doing both those things. So yeah, one might
And
piss
it's
off
in
the
their
left
best
and right.
interest. And it's in their
Exactly.
best interest to do that kind of thing. Like, especially the face mask
Yeah.
in a store. You don't need the government to tell you that these are the regulations. You have to have people wear masks.
Just not be an asshole.
The business can say, look, we're not allowing you in unless you have a freaking mask on. I don't need a regulation to tell me that.
Exactly.
Um,
Just not be an asshole to your other human beings.
but
Just like
in the same breath, the government shouldn't be able to tell me what I can buy, when I can buy it, or anything like that.
exactly. I will choose
I'm
which
willing to take the
businesses.
risk. I'm willing
Exactly.
to take the risk.
Exactly. If a business doesn't require people to wear masks, then I will make the economic choice not to frequent that business. Yeah, it's because I am actually in favor of masks in certain situations. Not all the time, yes, but like if I'm on my own or if I'm having a braai with like, I mean, you and I are not particularly in a huge risk factor. So if I'm at a braai with, let's say, you or whatever,
Yeah.
what our main patron sponsor, which is JB's Pub, it's I don't mind that the people there aren't wearing masks because of my
Yeah.
age group, because of my risk factor, and all that. But if I'm in a fucking
But
Walmart crammed
you
with
can still choose to wear it. It's up to you. You could still be like, actually, I'm wearing a mask when I go there. And
exactly,
that's the point. It can be up to you. You either take the risk or you don't take the risk. It's no one else should decide what risk you should take,
hundred
except yourself.
percent, 100%.
Um,
I mean, I
but
know you. Speaking of silly regulations, I know you had a fucking saga when it comes to
moving house.
moving
Yeah,
house
man.
in the
Jeez, like,
same estate in which you live.
yeah. So yeah, let me elaborate on that a little bit. So I was supposed to move on the 1st of April. Was it or the 30th of? Yeah, 1st of April. So just before, just after lockdown started. So I couldn't move and try to get the estate to allow me to move in the same estate. I'm just moving from one precinct to another precinct. It's not even a kilometer away.
Yeah,
The estate
like the
refused.
same gated community for those of you
Yeah,
not in South Africa, like the same little couple of neighborhoods, like a couple of streets up
yeah,
type thing.
exactly that. They wouldn't allow me to move. So I then asked them what to do, and people were saying on the internet, no, you can go to the police and get a police clearance, and if you get a police clearance, you can move. So I went to the police and got a police clearance, went to the estate, and the estate said, no, we're still not allowing you to move. I was like, what the hell's going on? Their lawyers told them that a police clearance, even a police clearance, isn't worthy enough for you to move because the regulations don't say that. And I was like, okay. And then the regulations got updated to say that if you were supposed to move during the main lockdown period, and you couldn't because of lockdown, you can then go to the police and get a permit to move to a new residence, a one-time permit, so you can only get a permit once. So then I was about to do that, but I then only signed some papers and stuff for my new place um, after the initial lockdown. So then the police saw that as not being during the main lockdown, which was level 5 or the first level that we were on during lockdown. So I couldn't get a permit. Literally about 5 days later, then the regulations got updated again to say that anyone can move at any time for once. And then I managed to get a permit for that. And then the estate accepted my permit. But then the moving company also needed a permit from the police to move me. So
Fucking
then I had to go to
hell.
the police again and get a permit so that they can come. And then the estate would only allow the moving company to come in. All of this, like literally to move not even a kilometer away from where I live. It's completely stupid and irrational. Um, yeah, like I get that you maybe want to make sure that the moving company coming in as well are wearing their PPE. Um, but you can do that without needing frickin' 1,200 permits just to do 2 hours job, you know. And the most difficult part of it, of course, is like I had to pack everything myself. Um, try to
Oof.
get a family member into the estate, and the estate was like, no, you're not allowed any visitors for whatever reason. Even if we got deliveries, like we had to go to the gate and go pick it up at the gate. They wouldn't allow anyone into the estate. So yeah, it's just been a freaking nightmare, dude. I'm just glad it's over. I moved last week and finally can settle down.
Dude, that is awesome, and I'm sorry you had to go through all that bullshit just to again move a couple of less than a kilometer, less than a mile, whatever measurement you use in your country in which you're listening to this, like in the same estate, with the same people you've been interacting with for fuck knows how long. I
Yeah.
just
And you get all those you always get those people that obviously are getting lockdown fever, so they're watching everyone else in the estate and they're like, will take a photo of someone and be like, "Oh, look, this person was out on the golf course 5 minutes past 9. They should have been in their house by 9." You know, like taking photos of people. I'm like, "Geez, like, come on." Literally, like, just shut the fuck up. Like, it doesn't matter. Because that person is not
again.
harming anyone. They're on their own. They're not close to anyone else, and you're upset because they're on a cart path and you in your house at 5 minutes past 9.
They are miles, and I do mean miles away. Well, not miles, but a large distance away from anyone else. So this is my thing when it comes to the whole corona thing. As it turns out, as the data is revealed, it's less deadly than we initially expected, and also there are a number of people who are more vulnerable, and a number of people who are less vulnerable, and a number of governments seem to have fucked up bad, and a number of governments didn't fuck up bad. What I hate is the dichotomy where it's either you wear a mask all the time and you have to still be super scared, or some people on Twitter are tweeting like, I'll never wear a mask. Oh, corona is such a fucking joke. Stop fucking tweeting that dumb shit. You are giving the other side ammunition. It is
Yeah.
bad. It is bad. And it'll make them no, I'm on your side. I get that contextually it's not as much as a threat as we thought it was, but you making stupid flippant little posts about corona and joking and laughing about it, like if I was pro lockdown, all I would do is plug into your tweet stream and be like, see, the anti-lockdown people are fucking stupid and insane. You're making the rest of us that are anti-lockdown look insane.
Yeah, dude, why must there always be, these extreme people on both sides that are
This is
just
just
screw up everything for like 99.9% of the population?
I
Just,
don't know. I don't know. But amazingly, though, with all the protests now, it seems Corona is over. So there's that. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Fuck. But yeah, I think everything's just been frickin' Corona, and I
Well,
do.
there's good news. There's SpaceX, my longtime rival Elon Musk, launching SpaceX into orbit and getting a manned mission out there. So that's actually my only tech topic for the week.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it because it's their first manned mission.
Yeah, and he was he was right when he tweeted, I'm the or said I'm the principal like designer for SpaceX or whatever. He said, if it goes well, then SpaceX did well. If everything goes down the drain, then I fucked up. And he's right. He's taking a huge risk in that aspect, that if everything went well, SpaceX did amazing, and SpaceX and Elon Musk did amazing.
Yeah.
If everything went to shit, then Elon Musk alone fucked up. And that's the reality of the risk that he was taking on. But I cannot
Also,
stress. Yeah,
also the reality of why people like Elon Musk make as much money as they do. They are the ones taking the frickin' risk. And
yeah.
people forget that. People are like, oh, they make too much money. No, did you take that risk?
Again, I keep pointing
Yeah,
out, do you have any idea how many millionaires the Microsoft Corporation has made out of its employees? Because a lot of people, yeah, Bill Gates has billions, and a lot of his employees have millions. There's a lot of, they've created value and products and services that there are so many businesses now that like the crux of their business was partially hugely helped because of the Microsoft services and products. Like again, like you said, they are the ones taking the risk.
yeah,
Yeah,
people forget that, but yeah, that's
yeah.
pretty cool. So,
It's
first manned mission for SpaceX then.
yeah, and
Um,
I mean, okay, for me, from a computer science perspective, I'm also really pro human sort of expansion into space, partially because right now we have all our eggs in one basket, as it were.
yeah,
So if Earth is fucked, the whole of humanity's fucked. GG, no re, as we say in the gaming community. But from a computer science perspective, one of the hugest things that I think is partially because of manufacturing. Zero G environments sort of present various different opportunities and make certain productions of certain materials easier. And also, in terms of general production, it's really easy to pollute space.
yeah,
Nobody cares how much your space, because also there are asteroids out there with more gold in them than the entire crust of planet Earth. Like the outer space, it's a smorgasbord of resources. So one of my big motivations in terms of tech for moving out to space is to move much of our production actually out in space, because A, resource rich, and B, nobody cares how much CO2 your factory pumps out if it's in space. Genuinely,
exactly.
nobody cares. There is no like consequence. The other thing is for me is then this is more in my sort of field of science is if we the dirty little secret is that server farms on planet Earth take up a lot of electricity and for cooling and for processing and all that. And one of the coolest things is that if we can get a lot of server farms out into space, especially on power satellites, then one, we can just power them on unfiltered solar power in space, because a lot of the solar power we get down here on Earth, no matter how efficient our solar panels, is kind of just weak source because it's already been filtered through our very protective atmosphere. You move that out into space, and that's fucking concentrated sunlight, and you will have server farms running 24/7, all the power you need, almost zero regard to cooling because again you're in space. And so yeah, that's a great thing. And with regard to cooling, in computer science, I've mentioned this before, there's this concept of Landauer limits, which basically is a mathematical formula which tells you how much more computing bang for your buck you can get the cooler the environment in which you do the computing in is. So it's kind of like back in the day. I know you remember this, where people were just all about fucking liquid cooling and how cool they can keep their computers.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, think of Landauer limits as an extent, and a very extreme extension of that is that with just 1 watt of power at this level of temperature, you could get so much more computing done, and that's awesome because then again we can do so much more computing.
Yeah, it makes sense, man. It's just we need to get to that point at some points, because not just the cooling of these server farms, but it's also the amount of space they take. The fact is, because everything's freaking digital now, it there are literally server farms being built every single day to house fucking hardware, um, which takes a shitload of a shitload of space. Um, and if we put it into outer space, we've got unlimited space. So, although I for the most part get really irritated with people in general, so living outer space would be probably better for me too. Anyway.
Oh yeah, I mean, look okay, so I'm not going to go into like structural and mathematical efficiencies, but like from a pure efficiency standpoint, one of the great things about outer space is the potential for what are called O'Neill cylinders. And again, one of my favorite science educators, Isaac Arthur, does a lot of good educating on this. And he basically made the comparison that we need, one of the other reasons we want to get into outer space is to build artificial habitats where we have all the space we want, and we can make the gravity as strong or low or weak as we want in these cylinders that just stay in space. Because the thing is, from a efficiency standpoint, living on planets as opposed to living in like artificial habitats in space is as efficient as living in caves in a mountain, as opposed to quarrying out that mountain and building houses. That's what O'Neill cylinders are. So I can see a future where many people will end up being born on living on O'Neill cylinders. They're, in terms of space and efficiency and resource use, they're much better than just finding planets that have already formed and living on them and terraforming them. So yeah,
Probably just not in our lifetime, but actually, I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know, dude. There's
You never know.
like I'm gonna take that life extension, whatever life extension tech we can get. I'm gonna take it.
Yeah, I mean, we should be living longer, so
Not to live like 5,000 years, but like to live like 250 years. Sure, I'll take it.
yeah, I really don't know if I want to live that long, to be honest.
Just to see a couple of things. I like, you know what? Just for the curiosity, I'll add on like 150 years or something like that.
Or like if there's some way to freeze me and just wake me up in like 100 years.
Well, the thing about cryogenics is that also when you do cryogenics on really long-term timescales, the human body has a lot of isotopes in them. So sort of like how they say bananas are actually radioactive because of that one isotope of potassium. We have certain sort of isotopes within our own bodies that when you're awake and alive, your body naturally breaks down and deals with them. But when you go into cryogenic sleep for thousands of years or whatever, then your body isn't your body isn't awake to do the biological processes to deal with it. However, those isotopes still keep going because they're not biological processes. So then they break down, do their whole half-life shit, and then you wake up 3,000 years later with massive radiation poisoning. So that's one of the biggest challenges when it comes to cryogenic preservation is how do you deal with the radioactive processes that are natural in a human body without waking them up and defeating the whole point of cryogenic sleep.
Yeah, that's interesting, and that's why I will never figure that out because I'm not a scientist. But yeah, it would be super cool if you could just wake up in a couple of 100 years. Actually, I don't know if that would be any cool.
I mean,
I think you'd probably be so lost and not understand anything at that point, I would assume, if you've missed 100 years or 200 years of
100
technological
years or no
advances.
from now? Well, it depends. Okay, so 1920 is 100 years ago. Yeah, you and I could wake up in 1920 and we'd survive. I mean, obviously there'd be actual slavery and well,
going
not
back.
slavery, but Jim Crow
Yeah,
laws
but
and
going back
segregation.
is different because we know what happened going back. Imagine someone in 1920 waking up
I think
now.
somebody from 1920 could deal with the technology of today. What they couldn't deal with is the social and economic changes. That would just blow their fucking mind. So I think maybe 1,000 years, yeah, then I'm with you. 1,000 years, I'm like, even we'd be like, we wouldn't be able to process or deal with anything happening.
Yeah, also, I mean, the technology we have now, I think, I mean, you know that it's exponential technology, and the last 100 years compared to the next 100 years is totally different.
Oh yeah,
In
okay, yeah, good point.
technological
Yeah,
advances, yeah.
because it's like a logarithmic scale of expansion. It's just like
But who knows? We probably won't be there to find out. But for whoever listens to this podcast in 200 years' time, by doing some sort of whatever you do to know that we spoke about you, try and let us know.
Yeah, I mean, like,
That could be weird. Um, yeah, dude. But I think we should just quickly touch on the US and what is happening with the elections this year. Are they still going to go on this year? Are they going to do mailbox ballots? What is going to happen with the US elections?
I mean, if you had asked me maybe a month ago, I would have said that. I would have said, maybe some sort of mail-in elections or something. I don't know. But now, since they're literally rioting and looting their cities, they're like, well, clearly you don't care anymore about getting out there. So
Yeah.
So here's my thing, right? So it's again, as much as I'd love the Libertarian candidate to win, and fuck you people for not voting Libertarian, I think it's likely it'll come down to Biden or Trump. So here's the thing: Biden's whole appeal was, you remember old Joe, slow Joe. He was vice president. Old Joe Biden. He's reliable. He's safe. Like his whole.
Remember when we spoke to McAfee as well? He reminded us that vice presidents, actually, you never know what the vice president's doing anyway. It's the best job to have.
Exactly, and he was 100% right on that. I still can't believe we had that interview. It's crazy shit. It's that was his whole campaign appeal. Is things have gotten crazy in the last 4 years, guys. I am the return to normalcy. I'm the return to normalcy. Vote for me. Cool. So to win, all he had to do was, win the presumptive nomination, then sit in his house for the next year or whatever. Maybe pick somebody like Kamala Harris or Stacey Abrams for a notably, intersectional candidate who's radical enough as his VP. Done, and say nothing until like November 3rd. Then he decided to be Joe Biden and come out on the shows and say all sorts of crazy shit. And granted, Trump says a lot of crazy shit. It is a problem for Joe Biden because Joe Biden's appeal is that I don't say crazy shit. I am a return to normalcy. I am the stability you crave. So it's a problem when Biden says it and not when Trump says it, because again, Trump is literally Donnie from Queens. He's never hidden the football. We know exactly who he is. Biden, his whole thing was, I am the return to normalcy. You can trust me. I am safe. But he couldn't do that, and now he's on shows and saying all sorts of shit. And part of me is like, one, you fucked up, but also part of me is like, guys, Joe's no longer with us. This is elder abuse. This is like the dude is deteriorating before our very eyes.
Like, you can forget what he's saying during the conversation.
It's elder abuse. I think it's actually elder abuse. And it's not okay. And
but to be honest,
it's the most stressful job in the world. And he's
the
already
Democrats
like
had no choice but to choose him. I mean, who else could they have chosen?
Tulsi Gabbard.
But she's too right for them.
She's not even that right.
She's not right. She's too right for them, for the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, Biden was always the safe choice. But yeah, he is a bit too old and he is forgetting things. And
Biden,
like if he becomes president, he may forget that he's president one day. Like, oh wait,
Let's see. Joe Biden is 77 and Donald Trump is
same, aren't they?
Also,
yeah.
Let's see, 73. Okay, so he's 4 years younger. Yeah. But he's 4 years younger, having been 4 years in the most stressful job in the world. I mean, look at Barack, his first day in office versus his last. And you want to expose the decaying corpse that is Biden to that stress. And it's and by the way, for all the riffs on Donnie from Queens, I will give him this, that for a man his age, and he's a little chunky, a man his age, he is insanely fucking virile in his job. I'm like, how is Grandpa Donnie fucking keeping up with all the stress? And I think I know why. It's because the man has eaten nothing but like fucking McDonald's and all that shit for all his life. And all that preservatives in that food is preserving him. Like the chemicals are preserving him and keeping him alive. That's my theory. And also just like the general stress of his life, I'm like, cool, that's probably what's keeping him alive.
Oh shit. And he doesn't drink.
Yeah.
So maybe that also helps. But fuck, okay. That's an interesting theory. Maybe the
Like
preservatives are keeping him alive.
That's what's keeping. Now, for Donnie from Queens, his whole path to victory is, one, he just needs to maintain what looks like a V-shaped recovery that's coming up for the economy, and two, make good moves on maintaining law and order in the city. Instead of fucking tweeting law and order, actually to normally deploy. Like, I'm against the government deployment of force, but when you are violating the private property rights of citizens and your mayor is doing nothing about it, and your chief police is saying give the rioters space to riot, in that instance, then I'm like, okay, now I'm okay with the National Guard being deployed to protect my property rights.
Yeah, I think it's definitely Donald's election to lose, because he can really just say, just even these riots, say, do you want a Democratic Party that is okay with people destroying your property, taking away your guns, taking away your freedoms, or not? It's that freaking simple for him. Plus, he's a known factor now that he's been in office for 4 years. So yeah, I think he may win it bigger than he did before. Personally,
Really? I'm
yeah,
thinking I think he'll win re-election, but it's gonna be a slim margin again. He'll
uh,
win more of the popular vote, but in terms, one or two states may go blue, because there's a couple of purple states that are. But however, if I will say, if the last month or what, the other thing he should, there's another two things he should write on if he really wants to crush this election, and that is, one, hey, by the way, your Democrat governor just said, let the police stand by while your houses and your livelihoods were ruined, while you were attacked and beaten and murdered in your houses. And I said, bring in the army. That's the one thing you should write on. And then also, when people like Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, and people like Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, has said, actually, the Trump administration's been on point. They've given us everything we need to deal with coronavirus. I don't know why he's not running this. I would take those sound bites and run them as an advert for like 100%. The next 6 months. Be like, even Andrew Cuomo and Gavin Newsom, who despise me, are like, we crushed this. So, yeah.
Yeah, dude. I definitely think he'll win re-election unless something dramatic happens in the next few months. But I mean, it's still to be seen how the election is going to work, if Corona is still such a big issue by November. I mean, I don't see why people can go to malls and so on, but they can't go vote. Like, maybe the idea is actually to have more voting stations, so they're not as populated. But yeah, I don't think they're gonna do mail order voting. It's just too sketch, I think.
Yeah, that is really,
especially in the States where you don't need to give our identification of who you are when you vote.
That is honestly that's the most insane thing to me.
Yeah.
Like, why is nobody freaked out by that?
Yeah, I could literally get 1,000 copies, and just put a vote on there. I need to show ID
when I'm buying a bottle of brandy. I need to. So why the fuck would I need to show? And that's arguably less fucking detrimental to society as whole
Yeah.
as me making a specific vote. So why I do not, and maybe again it's because we're not Americans. I get it, but I don't understand why you don't need to show ID to vote. That is, I don't understand. I just
Yeah, it makes no sense. 100% makes no sense. Um, but yeah, dude, I think it's gonna be interesting. I'm really curious to see how the elections are gonna work out with this pandemic.
what about
Um,
our own local and national elections?
um, we don't have anything this year, do we?
We have something next year, or at least it's being threatened to be cancelled by the ANC.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
because
that
of
can't happen.
Corona.
You can't just stop an election. That's unconstitutional.
Yeah, well,
Gotta
turns
be.
out stuff that isn't constitutional doesn't bother the ANC too much.
Yeah, no, we know that. We know that. Yeah, that would be interesting. I don't
I,
think that they could do that. Like, I don't know.
okay, I'm going to make this prediction and thing because of Johnny Simpason's spineless sort of simping and sort of performance lately. I think the
Yeah.
DA is going to fucking bleed votes, and I do mean bleed votes. And I think
Do you
parties
reckon?
like the free, yeah, I reckon, because people aren't going to forget how spineless Steenhuisen has been recently. Let me put it to you this way: Do you
Spineless like
think?
how? Sorry,
Do you,
I haven't really been following much politics in the last,
okay, well,
like I said, I've been on a bit of a sabbatical.
Johnny
So,
Simphazen has he basically went on Twitter and went online. He's like, we call for you to end this. This is unconstitutional. That's cool, Johnny. You wrote a very angry letter to the homeowners association. Do you know what the Freedom Front Plus actually did?
yeah.
Actually, fucking pressed a court case, which you then copied. You copied the Freedom.
Okay.
So parties like the Freedom Front, and also let me ask you a question. Even if the DA genuinely wants to end wanted to end the lockdown, uh, people aren't going to forget that DA MPs were snitching on Twitter on like companies like Four Nose Bakery, like, oh, Four Nose, how dare you let people buy coffee and shit online. And I get
True.
that Johnny Simpson doesn't control what every MP does or says with their Twitter account, but it's still not a good look when you're saying we don't support the lockdown, but your own people are fucking snitching on people. And let me
Like,
ask you the
yeah.
critical question. Do you think if we lived in a hypothetical situation where, like the DA wanting to end the lockdown, if the EFF had the absolute supermajority that the DA has in the Western Cape, and the EFF said we want the lockdown to end, do you think that there would still be a lockdown in the Western Cape if it was an EFF
Hell no.
province?
Hell no.
Fuck
They don't give
no.
a shit.
You are the leader of the biggest opposition party still to date. You have the Western Cape. Yes, I get that the national police are technically under the purview of the ANC. I get, but you still have the local metro police, and also even the national police that you have there are recruits from their local Western Cape communities. Just say, honestly, I am ordering you to not enforce. Done. The ANC does not have the capabilities to bring you back into line, because you know what? Even if they did send a bunch of people with guns down there to bring you back into line, that would mean they're drawing resources away from the rest of the country. So they're spread thin already. You could have literally just said, no, we're not going to enforce it. Done. That would be your election to win. But no, you didn't. You just wrote angry letters to the homeowners association. So no, I think that the Freedom Front Plus is going to gain a lot of former DA votes in the Western Cape. And yeah.
Yeah, I get really upset by angry letters. Like, stop writing freaking letters.
Just fucking do it, dude.
It's like I said, it's
Just
the same as those white people sitting on the streets there with their hands raised up, and there's like 500 of them. That's not doing anything. Like, literally, it's doing
strongly worded letter.
fucking,
Okay,
yeah.
motherfucker.
I'm gonna write you a letter telling you how angry I am. All right, fine.
Okay, it's what? Sack the fuck up, John, and do some shit. Come on, man.
Yeah, I really thought John Steenhuisen now taking over, they may be a little bit of a change at the DA. But yeah, apparently not. Um,
Yeah, and this isn't to slander every DA person. It's just, dude, it's not a good look when when the leader of your party is such a fucking simp. Like he's literally, if I thought of middle class suburban white dude who writes angry letters to this homeowners association, I'd think of Johnny Simpson. It's just
I like that, Simphazen.
yeah, Johnny Simpson and his boy in the Western Cape, Alan Winder, aka Discount Joe Biden. It's just
But the real problem as well is there's just no one to vote for. There's just no one.
I would vote for the Freedom Front Plus over the DA at this point. I really would.
Yeah, but for me, it's not even about who you'd vote over someone else. It's about who's my party and who can I actually vote for. You know what I mean? You're not voting a Freedom Front because you want to vote for them. You want to vote for them because they're just better than the rest, not because you want to vote for them.
Well,
You know what I mean?
I'd vote for Mashaba's party because border security and bring back the death penalty for rapists and murderers. But that's just me.
Yeah. So Mashaba's new party is called what?
They don't have a name yet, but like one of their things is we want to tighten the border, and again, this doesn't mean no, we hate all immigrants. It just means we want some sane fucking border policies and bring back the death penalty for murderers and rapists. I'm like, people like the death penalty isn't very libertarian. I'm like, listen, you just murdered somebody. I consider that a very big violation of the non-aggression principle. I just say
I'm very on the fence on the death penalty.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand.
It's a difficult thing. It's a difficult thing. I mean,
let me put it to you this way: there are some cases where people get executed and it's wrong, but also there are a hell of a lot of cases where it's clear as the driven snow that this person committed this murder,
and that's what I would say. Like you could never oppose a death penalty on someone unless I mean the facts have to be so. There literally has to be a video of you killing this person. You know what I mean? Like,
and there are situations like that. A lot of situations like that. Okay, so here's my other thing: is when it comes to giving people life sentences who we know have committed horrific, violent crimes, I have an issue because I, as a taxpayer, well, as little tax as I pay, hashtag taxation is theft. I know that some tiny fraction of my taxes are going to fund the life of that person who murdered or raped my loved one, and I'm now funding them to live forever or however long they live in prison, 3 square meals a day, all that shit. Fuck that 6 ways from Sunday.
Yeah, and that is the other thing. Like, isn't there a way that they can work and earn their own wage while in prison?
I'm not sure. It depends. I guess it depends on where in the world you're talking about. I'm not clued up on criminal justice, but yeah, like maybe we can get
you need a little little tuck shop in the prison and a little restaurant-ish thing, and if you want that, you got to buy it. And I don't know. There must be some jobs that can be taken over by some prisoners that other people don't want to do, that they can earn money from.
I assume so.
Like, you got to pay rent for your cell as well. If you want an extra square foot, pay for it, bro.
It's possible.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have the answers to that shit, but
it's a complex thing.
Especially death penalties. For me, that's a very complex issue, way above my pay grade.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah.
I guess, I mean, obviously, as somebody who's had family members murdered and raped, I'm obviously very biased on the issue.
Of course,
yeah.
Yeah, it's just I know enough to know that if I had to be responsible for sending an innocent person to their death,
that's also
that is not that's not something I would want on my conscience. Even even though majority of people that would get it will probably commit the crime. But yeah, who knows? Like I say,
Yes.
it's above my pay grade.
Yeah, but again, the scariest thing for me in all of this is that regardless of you don't know who to vote for or don't have it, is the implication, the threat that the ANC said, we might need to cancel the local government election. I'm just like, listen, guys,
Yeah, yeah, that is nuts. That is
that
nuts.
is,
But I
there's,
think, yeah, dude, I think that's a good way to end it off. I think we've been chatting almost like an hour and 45 minutes.
yeah, geez, this is going to
We,
be a
we, we
bumper
always have a long
episode.
show. We always have a long show, but hopefully the guys appreciate it. Also,
Yeah, it's,
just a
welcome
shout
back.
out to Jack at JB's Pub. It's his birthday today, so happy birthday, Jay.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, it's his birthday today.
Huh. Well, shout out to Jack. I don't have anyone to shout out to except, just yeah, you man. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be in civilization again.
As I say,
Um,
the show only exists because my gracious co-host you and Conscious Caracal exist. Otherwise, the show wouldn't exist.
I think you do a very fine job anyway, bro.
Appreciate it, bud.
Yeah, I mean, and we always get to talk about any shit we want to talk about, so that's always fun.
Yeah,
But yeah, dude. Also, just shout out to everyone on Discord. I am back on Discord, so
yeah. Shout out to the OGs like Belleville Pete and all that. Yeah,
hundreds, dude. Thanks for the chat. Was awesome.
sweet, bud. I will see you next week then, or whenever.
100%.
Cool, bud. Cheers.
Cool. Ciao.